But with that, we'll be moving straight into roll call. Administrative Coordinator Hill.
Here.
President White.
Here.
VPAA Gelnerova.
Here.
VPSA Epps.
Yeah.
Treasurer Steckel.
Here.
Assistant Treasurer Shake.
Here.
Ace Chair Handel. Ace Chair Mystic. Services Coordinator Porter. Concerts Chair Jarzina. Diversity and Outreach Coordinator Boggs? Yes, thank you. Senator Bolster. Senator Ercolani. Senator Stallings. Senator Schweitzer. Senator Farran. Senator Hamilton. Senator Doudna. Senator Toombu.
Here.
Senator Logan.
Here.
Senator Ochoa.
Here.
Senator Nalwa. Senator Taylor.
Here.
Senator Brindle. Senator Feldberg-Banaton.
Here.
Senator Samra. Senator Rebelski.
Here.
Senator Gondotra. Senator Steinberg. Delegate Bolke. Delegate Brenhofer. Delegate Gustafson. Delegate Tanamoto. Delegate Ruiz. Delegate Umsakela. Delegate Niederman. Delegate Luther. Technical Advisor Reverend Becker. ACES Co-Director Coleman. Green Fund Co-Chair Magdalena. All right, thank you all. So with that, we'll be moving into the public comments, announcements, and any additional events. Yes, VPSA Epps.
On Friday, CBS is hosting a sexual awareness talk in JRC 101 at 7 p.m.
Green Fund Co-Chair Magdalena.
We just put in composters on the countertops in the dorms like an hour ago. So they're in like every other dorm. So if they're not in your dorm, then just go next door. They're really cool and they'll be emptied pretty regularly, so they'll be clean and all that stuff.
Senator Ercolani.
First, I'd like to apologize for not including this. It just came in today. I have a statement to read from UGSDW with respect to events that occurred over the course of the last...
Sorry. Miles, can we turn up? Thanks.
So, is this better? Or is this? Yeah.
Yeah. That's better.
If you have the statement from that organization, you can motion to amend the agenda and add that as a discussion point.
Yeah, you can also just ask me and I can just throw it on if you'd like to make it a discussion point, or you could feel free to just read your announcement.
Yeah, I'd just prefer to read it. I'm sorry.
If it's a written text, could I also have you send it to SW1?
I most certainly will.
Thank you.
I apologize. Literally, this came to me while I was in Tim's talk like an hour ago. So, earlier today, UGSDW received an email from the Assistant Vice President of Human Resources, Mary Greiner, denying an information request that was asked for. This information was requested as it directly impacts UGSDW's bargaining positions, as well as it addresses the primary concern both the college and the union have spelled out in our contract, that of understaffing. The negative response from HR was disappointing. However, the contents of the email were perhaps more shocking. They claim that it is not our responsibility as a union to address understaffing, even though they wrote the portion of the contract that explicitly stated it was both our collective responsibilities. They said we have a duty to cooperate, but they have no duty to provide us information that only they have that we believe to be critical to making dining services a well-staffed and efficient working environment. They said that there's fundamental differences between dining services, work study, and other work study jobs on campus, and that those students who engage in work study are not workers, even though work is in the name of the program itself. By saying this, they oppose national labor case law and join the ranks of many major colleges and universities by denying their student workers the right to organize, the right to have a voice in their workplace, and the right to have their voices heard. UGSDW does not blame them for taking taking this position, because if they had done otherwise, they would have been in violation of yet another section of labor law for offering the formation of what is functionally a company union. However, it is disappointing that Grinnell takes the path of Harvard, Yale, Columbia, George Washington, and American universities, along with countless others, in trying to limit the voice of student workers on their campuses, especially when considering that these workers rely on their employment to maintain their academic excellence and the ability to be enrolled in their institutions. It is clear that the administration cares more about the state of its pocketbook than that of its students, and we find this absolutely unacceptable.
Point of information, what's UGSW?
UGSDW is the acronym for the Union of Grinnell Student Dining Workers. However, as we're trying to expand to the rest of campus, we generally use the acronym to move away from the dining workers aspect of things.
Any further comments, announcements, or events? Yes, President White.
The application for the class of 2021 class ambassadors is open and will remain open until the 20th at 9:30 a.m. If you are aware of any first-year students, all first-year students are eligible for this paid leadership opportunity. Please encourage them to apply, and if they have any questions, you can point them my way.
Any further comments, announcements, events? Yes.
The videos we've been recording from Campus Council are now live on the SGA YouTube page, so that should be good to go from now on. We're going to figure out captioning in short order, but that should be good to go.
Further comments, announcement, or events? Yes, Senator Toombu.
This Friday at Gardner at 10 p.m. is Blackout, hosted by ACSU, African Caribbean Student Union. So come and show out.
Further comments? Yes. Councilor Georgina.
Hi, there's a concert in Gardner tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Overcoats are playing. They're like an indie folk soul duo. It's going to be really fun. They make really pretty music. It's going to go for like 45 minutes. So come for a study break, come for the highlight of your evening, whatever you want to do. It's going to be good. That's 8 p.m. tomorrow in Gardner.
Further comments, announcement, or events? Yes.
On Saturday at the BCC at 11 p.m., Freaknik Part 24 will be happening. At 11 p.m., hosted by CBS.
Yes. Oh, could we get a mic to Senator Rebelski, please? Oh, never mind.
This Saturday at 12 o'clock p.m. in the Russell K. Osgood Pool and Charles Benson Barron Auditorium, the Grinnell men's and women's swim and dive teams are having their first home meet.
All right, ACE co-chair handle.
On the 18th of November at 7 p.m. here will be the talent show. All are welcome. There was a Schicks sticker study break. I don't know if that goes until 9 p.m. tonight. The capsule, which is the follow-up of the Divest campaign, will be, was that today? Okay, it's my bad. And then Black Awareness Week continues until Friday. Alongside Freaknik, there's also soccer ball in Harris on Saturday. Schick Gardner was canceled, unfortunately. Blackout, like our senator said. And there's also ACSU week. Yes, that is until Friday.
Any further comments, announcements, events? Yes, Senator Schweitzer.
This is just the reminder to speak clearly, slowly, and yeah, just because, sorry.
Yeah, if we could all please try to speak clearly, enunciate well, it would be helpful to us all, also for the recording. Are there any other questions, comments, announcements, events? All right, seeing none further, we'll be moving on to the next item, which is the approval of the minutes. So with that, do I see a second for the motion to approve the minutes? Yes. All right. All right. And so with that, if you could all just use your clickers, we're going to open up the polls starting now.
15, right? Yeah. No. 17. You're right.
So we're looking for 17. A is in favor, B opposed, C abstain.
Point of information, does anyone have hand lotion?
Supportive group. All right, if we could all make sure we vote, we're looking for 17. A is in favor of the approval of the minutes, B opposed, C abstaining. One more. We are looking for just one. Oh, there we go. Thank you. All right. That is unanimous. All right, so the minutes are in fact approved, and so with that, we'll be moving on to the next item on the agenda. This is actually going to be an additional item added in. We're going to be discussing the campus council for next week. So what that means is that next week, Thanksgiving break begins at 5 p.m. on Wednesday, so we are not technically obliged to be hosting a campus council, but I do feel it's best to be leaving it up to the council itself. So with that, if there is anything necessary, then we can have a separate campus council on Tuesday night at 8, which would be called into session if there were any budgets, should people decide to cancel campus council for next week. And so first I'll be putting this forward by unanimous consent, which means that if anybody has any objections, you can just raise your hand, and then we'll move into a discussion, and we'll have a vote requiring 2/3 majority. So with that, is there anybody opposed to canceling campus council next Wednesday, November 22nd? All right, seeing none, campus council will not be convening next Wednesday. So with that, we'll be moving on to the next item, which is the budgets from all campus events. Either of the all campus events co-chairs? Yes.
I sent it to all of you on your email that has the minutes. Sorry, we were a little tardy with that, but here they are. The only thing that was tabled was the wasted film for the Food Recovery Network because they did not have the film rights, and we need that to make it legal. Any questions? Thank you.
So nothing to approve? All right, are there any questions for either of the ACE co-chairs? Yes, Senator Feldberg-Bannatyne.
Hey, so I'm just looking and it says Schick Gardner was granted some money, but it was canceled. What happened to those funds?
So, I guess it's not canceled, it's just postponed until a weekend that it can actually happen because of, until it can be fully staffed because there's so many events happening this weekend. So it's just postponed, and until then, if it's postponed later into the semester, then those funds will just be moved to that day. But if it is moved to next semester, they would have to apply again.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none further, we'll be moving on to the next item, which is the budgets from the Student Programming Committee. Services Coordinator Porter, would you like to present on these?
Yeah, so should I turn up the lights a little bit? Can people see?
Sure, why not?
Okay. So we had a good SPC. It was fun. It was good. We had quite a few people, or quite a few organizations come through. Friday Night Nets. So it is a club that meets to play basketball, and they got 3 basketballs, which should be open to all students to use. And they'll be in the SJ offices, and they also received pennies for their games. The Little Creek Movement received funding to go to a trip for Possibility and Alliance. Russian House dinners were tabled due to our new rule on food. Friends of Greeks and Slavs, or Friends of Slavs and Greeks, sorry, received funding for their cultural events that are coming up, namely St. Nicholas Day, among other ones. Fly fishing received funding for fly fishing stuff, i.e. string. I guess it's not really called string. I don't know. I don't know the terminology. And licenses, because turns out you have to have a license to fish for just a day, even if it's catch and release, which I think is wild. And then SR Thanksgiving meal was approved, and the committee found it a justifiable exception to our food policy. And then lastly, Grinnell College virtual reality supplies. That was tabled in committee, and they have come to appeal that budget. And so we can move on to, well, okay, I'll leave it at that, and then we can move on to the appeal.
Are there any questions about any of the budgets other than the Grinnell College virtual reality supplies? Yes, Senator Doudna.
On what grounds was the SRC Thanksgiving meal an exception to the rule, but not the Russian house dinners on the food roll? I just want to know.
Yeah, so the Russian house dinners, so those dinners are exclusive to only people who live in Russian House, and we felt that and it's one per week, and so we thought that was providing funds for an exclusive group of people who not everyone can join in, not all student body can join in on that, to have their meals subsidized. Okay. And then for the SRC Thanksgiving meal, so the argument there was that a lot of people who belong to the SRC community cannot go home for various reasons resulting from their identity, and that this would provide like a really grounding way for the community to come together around a special holiday in which many cannot participate usually. So the committee decided that was reasonable.
Senator Ercolani.
Before we move on to the appeal, could you elaborate on the committee's decision to table it originally?
Yeah, I was gonna do that. Do you want to just move on to it now? Okay, I'll discuss that when we move on, and then GCVR will speak.
Yeah, they have, it's the 6th item on the agenda. It's just the next item, so we will be talking about that. But are there any questions about any of the other budgets from SBC? All right, seeing none further, we'll be moving on to the next item, which is the GCVR Club Budget Appeal. So with that, it'll be a presentation by...
well, I'll start.
Okay.
I'll start, and then Miles will go.
All right.
So essentially, okay. So when this budget was presented, keep in mind we had 3 committee members, we had 2 abstentions, 1 no. And the reason, and the discussion that went on, and the reason why there were so many abstentions and 1 no, it was felt that this budget wasn't, the items listed weren't really necessary for the organization to function, and that they had also received a vast amount of funding, upwards of thousands of dollars from trustees, and that also, and that they had it fully delivered, I guess, on those, on the original intentions of VR Club. It was also felt that some of the things that are in here, for example, the Virtuix VR Boom, were requested, or was requested because FM had failed to deliver on a promise of providing adequate material to like section off the area, which Miles will get into, I'm sure. But we felt that they should reach out to FM more, maybe connect to SGA to help with the process. And I think also on the, the fact that they felt that it was unnecessary, there was also this feeling that it's really close to the end of the semester and it might be better off waiting for IAC as soon as we return, so that way all these projects don't kind of halt when the semester ends. And then additionally, I think, there's this gap between knowledge of what is, for a VCAR club, that no one in the committee really has a deep understanding of, like, what exactly can be cut necessarily. It was just felt that all of it could be cut because of that, so.
Yes, Technical Advisor Becker.
Ready to roll? All right. So I'm going to start off by talking a little bit about what the club, like how the club was founded and what we do, and then we'll kind of.
Could you use a mic, please?
Yeah, I would just like the speaker to clarify if they're speaking from their point as the SGA technical advisor or from a student who's involved in this organization.
Fair. No, that's a fair point. I am the technical advisor, but I'm also the head of Virtual Reality Club. I'm speaking in this moment as one of the heads of GCVR. So we first got our budget passed through SGA in the spring of 2016, which was about a month after like the two big VR headsets launched, which was pretty exciting. And so we received, I don't remember, I should have looked up the exact number. It's somewhere between 5,000, I think it's like 5,600, maybe 5,500. It was either the last or second to last campus council. Isabella deemed it worthy at the time for just using the rest of the funds because they just had leftover funds, and it was exciting. We were awarded the budget. We had a faculty advisor in Damien Kelty-Stevens in the psychology department, and a staff member in David Neville in the digital liberal arts lab. The trustees flew us out to their meeting over in the summer 2016 in Denver. We got to kind of speak to them about emerging technologies and specifically what we wanted to do with virtual reality. And so we had these setups. It was great. Like the final parts came in like August, and then we had nowhere to go. So we spent fall semester last year battling with Space Committee to try and get us a permanent space because the setups inherently require that you have space, like you need a place to do it. And so they offered us some temporary locations but nowhere to store the stuff, and it's like kind of heavy, and like it's uncomfortable carrying around like a $2,000 computer on a cart. Like if something were to happen, it'd just be much nicer if we had a stationary space. So we were promised at the end of the summer that it would be built during the month of August. And this is what FM told us. We had meetings with Rick Whitney. We were very excited about the possibility. They had plans drawn up, and then nothing. So then we reached out to them over after August, didn't hear anything, and then they said, oh, we're going to build it over fall break. And we're like, okay. And then nothing happened. And then they're like, nope, just winter break. They sent us a random email. We're like, okay. And then the construction started, and then we just didn't hear anything. And then things had just been kind of sitting in the D-Lab, not really doing anything until July. They reached out to David Neville, our staff contact, and said, oh, we're actually going to do this. And we're like, okay. So we finally received the room. They started building it in July. It's not done yet, but it has a door and a lock, which is kind of exciting. They haven't terminated our Ethernet ports. They haven't put any tables in there. We had to get tables and chairs. We were told we were going to get ventilation. We were told we were going to get another piece that I would talk about here in a second. But this has been going on since the beginning of the semester. Switching hats for 2 seconds, I also have monthly meetings with Dave Robinson, the head of ITS, as in my technical advisor position, and we discussed the process of this, and I have made it very clear over the last 3 meetings that I would greatly desire them to finish our room, despite the lack of communication thus far, as well as the things they had not promised. They didn't, I guess at no point have they technically promised us anything, but the things they had said they were going to do. And he has been attempting to reach out with Corey Hammond and Rick Whitney to not as much success as I would like, but so that has been the process thus far. We finally got everything established and set up 3 weeks ago. We were excited because initially we drafted a mailing list in the spring of my first year before coming to SGA to kind of prove that there was a student interest in the club, especially considering for how much money we were asking for. If we were going to ask for that much money, we wanted to make sure we could benefit the maximum number of people. And so we had a mailing list of over 150 people. It was awesome. And so then fast forward to this semester when we're actually sitting down in our new space, getting ready to do it, and we look back at the old mailing list, and most of them had graduated. It was sad. So we've been rebuilding a mailing list. We've had 3 weekly meetings thus far since we started officially convening. Our mailing list is over 75 people. We're incredibly excited about that. And so that's kind of where the committee is.
Point of information?
Yep.
How many people have attended?
I mean, we've had 3 meetings thus far. I think, like, I'm going to get more into what the club actually does because those meetings are purely for outreach. But we haven't even set up posters yet. It's been purely by word of mouth. And I believe we've had somewhere between 15 or 20.
Okay.
I know there's some people in this room who can attest to that. But I think the goal of the club is not... We haven't really had a chance to fully move forward with the goal of the club. Like, the idea was this is like a new emerging software, and Grinnellians do wonderful things in their fields of research and expertise, and we'd love to see them get really dedicated and do something cool for this. So stuff we've done thus far, next semester we're working with the German department to do some word recognition and retention, which we're pretty excited about. We've worked with Faulkner Gallery to do events in the past. We just got a new art application that allows people to do three-dimensional, like, spatial art. We have worked with the psychology department with several students to do, like, spatial recognition software or spatial interaction research, which has been pretty exciting. But I think the goal is to allow students to do development on their own. And so I think we have these weekly meetings to allow students to come in and get familiar with the software and have the opportunity to, like, play games. I mean, it's really nice. Like, I mean, this like, SGA paid for it. I'd love for students to get hands on it. But the goal eventually is to create these student development groups. So we've been collaborating with GSEAL, which is the Grinnell College Interactive Experiences Lab, who also has a similar setup to ours, to see what we can do with them. They've offered to come in and do workshops. There's a lot of really awesome opportunities that we're looking forward to do, but there are just a few things that we need. And before I even dive into this, I want to talk about, like, the funding that we've received since we got the initial funding from SGA. The GCO gave us $200 for STEAM gift cards to get applications that we can utilize for students. At no point have I come and asked for anything other than purely academic hardware and software. They were kind enough to give us the funding to get software to allow students to kind of experience it in a fun way. We received 2 monitors from ITS, some mice, some keyboards, and they built a room for us, which has been awesome, and we're really appreciative of that. And I think that was the understanding when we first applied, is that we wouldn't come back from money unless the school had officially endorsed us, which I don't know, I think they have at this point. But I'm going to kind of dive into this budget now. So there are 4 unique things, 5 things total that we asked for. So the first thing was the universal dev bundle for the VR motion controller. This kind of goes towards just like increasing interactivity with the software and hardware, as well as like enabling some students who want to do spatial research. I think this would be kind of cool. It's an attachment that goes on to our HTC Vive system and allows people to essentially interact with environments with just their hands as opposed to controllers, kind of like eliminates that barrier. We're really excited about doing some development with that. We've also asked for 2 sets of acoustic paneling. This is probably like the most important thing on this budget, simply because the space they gave us is like not super big, and as you can imagine, when you're wearing goggles and like you're fully immersed in an environment, you tend to lose sense of your spatial awareness in the real world. So we've dinged the walls a couple times, which has been unfortunate, and there's been like some like cosmetic damage to the controllers, and there's concern about like I don't want the controllers to break. So we can cut down on noise coming from the room, and also hopefully cut down on like the number of hitting the wall. So the Virtuix VR Boom, this is something that kind of ties into another line item that we currently have going through the college through separate avenues. The way VR works is like you have this headset and there's this giant cable that comes out of the back that carries the sound and video for the monitors on your face. And it's really easy, again, like when you're lost in that like interactive experience, to like trip over these cords as they're on the ground, but you can't see them because you're not in reality, you're in virtual reality. And so this essentially is a stand that holds the cords above your head so that you don't trip on them. I think this is pretty important for a variety of reasons, but the point that the committee made, which I think is fair, is that at the time of conception of the space, when they initially showed us the plans, they're like, oh, you know, it'd be really cool. We'd gone to visit this company out in Marshalltown called Mechdyne, who contracts out like interactive systems. They make like these cave systems. It's pretty cool. But Dave Robinson had mentioned to Rick Whitney when he was making the plans, it'd be nice if we had some way of suspending the cables from the ceiling. And so they're like, cool, yeah, we'd like to look into doing that. And so, which is something they'd mentioned.
Point of information, I have a question.
Yeah.
How do we go about limiting debate? I apologize. That's not me trying to be rude.
No, I'm not offended at all. I know. I'm just like trying to make sure everyone has the proper information, but like.
Yeah, but I can't take, there aren't any motions that are able to be made during point of information, so we'll have to turn it back over to Reverend Becker.
Cool. I'll be quick, I promise. All right. So, yeah, I don't know. That was like a year and a half ago. They haven't followed through with that. I think when Dave Robinson, a senior staff member, can't get in touch with Rick Whitney, who is also a senior staff member, then there's like intercommunication issues in the college, but I'm not going to speak to that. But
Point of information, Mass, can you please speak louder, slower, and more like with like, yeah, just enunciate,
yeah,
please?
I'm just trying to cover a lot of ground.
I know, but like for accessibility reasons, please.
Okay, then I'm going to slow back down.
Thank you.
Okay, back to normal. So when Rick Whitney, who's a senior staff member at the college, can't get in touch, or when Dave Robinson, also senior staff member, can't get in touch with Rick Whitney to determine whether or not this is viable, I don't know. It's been a year and a half and took that long to get our room. I think like there is a chance one day they might be able to do this. This was an idea that was tossed around at the initial planning of the room. I don't know. But yeah, lastly, Oculus Touch controllers for our other system. They didn't exist when we bought it, but they exist now. We'd like to get that. And the one other thing I hadn't added to the menu, or the budget, was that Damien Kelty-Stevens, our faculty advisor, has also applied for a research grant from the school for an omnidirectional treadmill. This is $5,000 made by Virtuix, same people who make the Boom. It's an attachment that goes to that. We're excited about that for more research and interactive student development programs to be possible there. But yeah, sorry, questions?
Are there any questions? Any comments? Yes, Senator Hamilton.
So I was just wondering about the change in precedence on funding tech clubs. Last week, Drone Club was given a comparable amount of funding.
Yeah, so Drone Club had come like weeks before, or it's actually not Drone Club, it's Grinnell Aircraft Association, but no, because I wrote drones on my budget request. I know it confused people, because drones, but anyway, they came before fall break requesting funding to start something completely new, which was to make a drone. And we told them no, please go to Comp Sci or go to all of the other, or the physics department, or to a bunch of other places first and see if you can get funding. And then and you can come back if you don't. Then they came back and we gave them funding because they received a big no from everyone. And it's different, Drone Club is different. It's not the purpose, we didn't fund this not because it's a tech club, but because we saw very real problems coming out of the budget. Drone Club is also different because it's starting from scratch, right? And they have nothing, whereas VR Club already has quite a few supplies. Yeah.
Yes, Diversity and Outreach Coordinator Bogus. Can we get a mic to DOC Bogus, please?
I also just called it Drone Club again. Grinnell Aircraft Association. I'm so sorry. Oh my goodness. Okay.
Can I have a motion to limit debate to 1 minute?
Yes, I see a motion to limit debate to 1 minute. Do I see a second? Yes, Senator Logan. All right. So with that, we'll have the votes up. So if we could open up the polls. This is a motion to limit debate to 1 minute. This requires a 2/3 majority vote in order for it to be limited. So the poll is open. A is in favor, B opposed, C abstain. 1 minute limit on debate.
Good job explaining what the Senate or committees consider. You can ask that question. You ask after the motion's been decided. Just raise your hand.
All right.
What?
That motion does not pass, so we will continue on with the debate.
Wait, so I would like to make a point of information. Can keep in mind also, we didn't say no to GCVR permanently. We said no for now while there's 3 weeks left, and please come back during IAC when you've resolved some of the issues that could be resolved without SBC funding.
All right, Senator Doudna.
Is there a reason, I understand like for the more expensive items, but is there a reason specifically that they can't get like the foam panels to keep their items that they already have from getting damaged, since it's like $33 total? Like, what was the reasoning behind not funding that, I guess? Because I can understand the reasoning in not funding the over $100 items.
Right, so when we approve or deny budgets, especially ones like this, it's not because of cost, typically. I mean, it has been in the past, right? But the reason why this was tabled was not because of cost. So just like clarification purposes. So if something is $200, but we feel it's necessary to spend our money on, we will do that. We won't spend our money on $30 that we feel like shouldn't be funded simply because it's cheaper. I think when this was when this was discussed in committee, there was an overall feeling that this was generally unnecessary as a whole. I mean, I can't really speak to that specific point.
Senator Toombu, could we get a mic? Yeah, thank you.
I was wondering how much has your club, like how much funding has your club received in total?
Like from all sources?
Yeah.
So we'll go 5,500 from SGA 2 years ago, 610 this fall, however much you value a room at, and maybe like an additional 200 from ITS 2 years ago. So probably like maybe like 6,000, like right around there. No, like 6,500 probably.
6,500?
Yeah.
Okay. 6,500. Okay.
Assistant Treasurer Shake.
How many more times do you guys plan on meeting this semester?
Well, so again, the point of the meetings is not necessarily, like that is not like the club, that is not the essence of the club, that is purely for raising awareness. So we spoke with Sam Rebelski earlier today about sending out a message to the CS department. We've been working with Justin Thomas in the theater department to like get more out there. I think we'll probably meet the remaining 3 Sundays. However, we just meet every Sunday from 8 to 9 in the D-Lab. We're also working with Weekend to have an event in early December. So I'd say tentatively, like definitely 4, but like hopefully more, just depending on whether students can like, we can like drum up some.
So this material is basically to get the club set up for next semester?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think this just enables, like, the controllers enable more, like, cooperative experiences in virtual reality. The Leap Motion, like, allows more, like, interaction with, like, the hands, and the Boom just prevents people from falling on their faces.
Senator Logan.
I'm sorry, you go ahead. And do you think, like, if campus council decides not to fund this, do you think that FM could work on this over winter break? And
your mic isn't working. Okay.
So Corey Hammond met with David Neville, our staff supervisor, about finishing, like putting a desk in the room, and he said there's a chance it might be done before the semester starts next year. So I think like there's a chance we might get a desk over winter break. I think if that's like our bar, I would be skeptical as to whether or not we will. To be clear, the note about McDine creating something like this was like an idea that Dave Robinson had pitched to Rick Whitney during our initial planning meeting of the space. So I think it is not something that currently exists. It's something they'd buy. It's something that like McDine would have to like draft and create and then have over here and like have installed. Like nothing like this exists like at any point that we've known of.
Senator Logan.
Just for like future reference when it comes to budget and appeals and stuff, it would be really helpful from SBC and like actually even ACE, because I'm lost right now, to maybe come with like 2 or 3 very specific things of why it should not be funded. Because like I said, I really trust your judgment, but I don't know the whole realm of SPC so well that like I get why exactly this fits the student body, but like the rest doesn't. Like things aren't super clear right now.
Senator Ochoa. Can we get a mic to Senator Ochoa, please?
Oh, yes, push me up.
Okay, so if we were to fund this budget, how do you think that this would necessarily like increase like activity for your club, or like just people coming and raising awareness, and just how will this necessarily like, especially like when you were talking about other departments, would this be funding this, would this cause a significant increase into like the club as a whole, like making it better?
I think, so Yash, this semester. Okay, so I think my main reason for applying at the time that I did was I was looking at like the amount of the budget that we'd used recently and how much was left. So there seems to be a significant portion of the budget left this semester. We used $1,000 last week. We have $6,000 left for 3 weeks. I think like I'll be here over winter break. This allows me to kind of like get everything set up for next semester. I think like at a grander scale, like without the Oculus Touch, we can't have cooperative interactions in virtual reality. Like you just can't. You just don't have hands. You only have a face. Without the boom, I'm scared like people are going to fall and hurt themselves or trip. I've like seen some like close instances. Without the pads, like people are like keep putting holes in the wall. And without the leap, I'd say this one's kind of like, this would be a nice pairing with the treadmill, so it's to like eliminate like the barrier between reality and virtual reality. I'm really excited about that, but I think like these just allow for more opportunities for what we want to do, and I think it's kind of hard to like say that like, oh, we've done so much thus far because we've been meeting for 3 weeks, but I think this like greatly increases our opportunities for what we can do in the future.
Administrative Coordinator Hill.
Motion, previous question.
I see a motion to previous question. Do I see a second? Yes, VPSA Epps. All right, so this is a motion to previous question. This requires a 2/3 majority, so we're going to open up the polls. A motion to previous question, for those who don't know, is just a motion to go back and do the vote on the actual motion, which is an appeal for $372.96 for GZVR. The motion to previous question is simply a vote to go to the vote, A being in favor, B opposed, C abstaining. So this is not actually your vote on the motion, but on the motion to vote on the motion, if that's clear. All right, so with that, the motion to previous question passes, and we will be moving into the vote. So now the polls are going to reopen again in a moment, and you will be able to vote on the budget for $372.96 to the GCVR Club budget from SPC. A is in favor, B opposed, C abstaining. Polls are now open. All right, so that budget is passed, that appeal is passed. The GCVR Club is granted $372.96 from the SPC budget.
Point of information?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that as we have SGA, and I say we because like I was treasurer when this started and all, have allocated thousands of dollars to this club, and they've been struggling to get support from administrators. I just wanted to offer extra support there. Rick Whitney has been very responsive to my emails in the past, and I'm happy to inform his supervisor if he's not being responsive and get a response, because if we're putting student resources into something, this much student resources, I want students to be very well supported throughout this process. So I encourage any student who needs support in this realm to please reach out to me so that this whole thing can go as planned and go well.
All right. With that, we'll be moving on to the next item on the agenda, which is the budgets from the Services Committee. So, Services Coordinator Porter. Could we get a mic to Services Coordinator Porter? Thank you.
Day-to-day girl. Hello again. So we had two budgets, not too much, but still substantial. Grinnell Middle School Art Club wants to make slime with the middle schoolers. Fun. It's one of their projects. And then Thanksgiving community meal. Little Creek is going to do a service project of sorts and host the community meal at Davis Elementary School on Thanksgiving. Or on a Tuesday. On a Tuesday, not on Thanksgiving. Okay.
Are there any questions on the Services Committee budgets? All right, seeing none, we'll be moving on to the next item on the agenda, which is a cabinet report from Assistant Treasurer Shake.
Can I give it after summer?
Sure. So we'll be just doing a quick switch and moving on to the cabinet report from President White first.
I have nothing to add.
Are there any questions for President White? All right, seeing none. Are you ready?
Yeah. I will, yeah.
Okay, we'll be moving on to the cabinet report from Assistant Treasurer Shake.
Okay, so I held Green Fund Committee with Claire on Thursday. I attended the Budget Planning Committee on Thursday. It's the committee that decides the college's budget for next year, 2018 to 2019. Zach and I went to that. And then weekly meetings, the usual. We placed LED surveys in Burling. So we installed LED lights in Burling last semester, and so last fall, and then there were we heard rumors about people having migraines because of the LEDs, and then we put in surveys to see if there was anything that's happening. When we're just gonna collect data till the end of the semester, and then see what happens with that. And then I met with VPSA, David Taylor, Julia Schaefer, and Green Fund co-chair Claire Magdalena to discuss the campus bikes project. So we're thinking of having a whole fleet of campus bikes, and it's like a co-op thing. Claire can talk to it if you have questions about it. That happened. We're figuring out the logistics for that, and then we met with we're doing this we're meeting with all our budgetary shareholders. So we had a couple of meetings. One of them was Block Party. That was interesting. It was fun. So we're trying to figure out a system to have better hiring procedures for Block Party hosts, because it's it's basically someone who's on the committee can become Block Party host now, before, but now we're making it more official. So it's more legal, I don't know. And then office hours, and then, emails. Any questions?
Any questions for Assistant Treasurer Shake? All right, seeing none, we'll be moving on to the next item, which is a cabinet report from Administrative Coordinator Hill.
I would love for you guys to send announcements when I ask for them. Yeah, that's it.
Are there any questions for AC Hill? Yes, Senator Logan.
Yeah, I was wondering if you or any other cabinet members have any word on when senator fall election results are going to be sent out. I only bring it here because I've asked the election board chair 3 times. I've asked you, and I think that it's really, really important that people can see how that shook out and that senators know what their turnout was from their cluster.
How recently did you speak to the election board chair?
I spoke to him in September and towards the end of last month, I think.
Towards the end of last month, okay. There was some confusion over what the role of the election chair was to do in the election, and I think we have just recently squared away that there was something that was missing that needed to be done that has not been done. So as I currently understand it, is being worked on and should be released before the end of the semester. So.
President White.
Yeah, that's the first I'm hearing of this. So I just wanted to say that if anyone is having difficulty getting in contact with anyone on this campus, especially if there's someone who works for SGA, please let me know, because I'm trying to have a responsive organization here and be like open representatives, very helpful and good with communication and stuff. So please let me know so I can help out with that.
Any questions? Any other questions for Administrative Coordinator Hill? Oh, yes, Senator Logan.
That's like still didn't give me really a date or time frame.
I will be reaching out to him, and then technical advisor Becca will be reaching out, and I'll let you know by the end of this week when they are going to be released, okay?
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions for Administrative Coordinator Hill? All right, seeing none, we'll be moving on to the next item, which is the Academy report from the Vice President of Student Affairs. Yes.
Last Friday I had a meeting with a bunch of leaders on campus, including Hannah, and we talked about the Sexual Health Week, which will be in February. It'll be like February 5th to the 9th. And then on that Friday of the February 9th, we will have STI testing. It'll be a truck. I assume it'll be on 8th Avenue. And then there'll be a bunch of events that we'll be hosting from SGA will host some events, and Jen Jacobs and Emily, I don't remember her last name, or like administration will host some events, then Schick will host some events, and there's another group, what do you know what the other group is? Some student leader group. Peer educators will host some events as well. The next thing is I'm canceling the top of the table thing. A little busy, just not canceling completely, but like not going to happen tomorrow because tad bit busy. But you will see it. It's not forgotten, and I did get things from that. Let's see. I met with Jen Jacobs about Title IX and Harm Reduction Committee. The weekly DSA meeting me and Summer have with Andrea and Sarah Motion Ross. Met with some people in Tech Committee, right? Tech Committee? Yeah, met some people in Tech Committee. We talked about dorm room, computer rooms in dorms and some really cool things. There's some dope shit to talk about. Went to the new dining director search committee. It's private information, but we do have like a list of people. So if we are like the next stage is for us to have phone call interviews or whatnot, and I may get a chance to ask some questions. So if you have any questions you'd want to ask them, send them my way. I'm not saying I will be able to get them answered, but like still send them. Oh, last thing, if you've emailed me since Monday, I will respond. I'm just a little busy, so I will respond. That's it. Any questions? Gucci.
Any questions for VPSA EPS? Nope, seeing none, we'll be moving on to the next item, which is the Cabinet report from the Vice President of Academic Affairs.
Nothing to add.
Any questions for VPAA Yelnarova? All right, seeing none, we'll be moving on to a Cabinet report from the ACE co-chairs.
Okay, so Sayla and I have been working with Walt's chair, Regina Logan, and so today I called Grinnell High School and I found out that John Edwards, who is the international recruiter for Grinnell College campus, is a DJ and was hired to DJ the Grinnell High School dances for the past 2 dances, and that he charges a pretty nice fee. So, you know, we might have John Edwards as the Waltz DJ. Probably not, because I don't think I could bear it, but I think everybody should know that. If you don't know who John Edwards is, like... Oh, I do. He's just like a funny man. What else? But the lady at the Grinnell High School was really mean and rude to me. I'm like, you are not getting my coins as an alum. But, yeah, you know, business as usual. We're almost out of events. We're almost out of money. The semester is coming to an end, and so is my career as ACE co-chair. So I'm helping Dylan and Sayla transition into their events without me, their committee, their responsibilities without me, but I don't have anything else to report.
Yeah, we met, me and Dylan actually met this past week discussing the budget for next semester. So we're really excited about that. And we're also working closely with Claudia on that. We also met with Michael Sims as usual. We attended we're at all those meetings that we normally have during the week. So nothing new.
Any questions for the ACE co-chairs? Yes, President White.
Yeah, there's just been some like different styles of communication, I think, with like how students give feedback for things or opinions on anything that's happened on campus or events or stuff. So I'm wondering if you two could share the best way to reach you.
Email. Yeah, like ace@grinnell.edu. Our office hours are on the SGA website, right? Check that.
Yeah, they should be. If anybody has any questions or anything, please send them to us. We're very willing and open to discuss how our committee works and how decisions are made. Yeah, and we have a pretty quick response rate. Right, Senator Ercolani?
Any other questions for the ACE co-chairs? All right, seeing none further, we'll be moving on to the next item, which is a cabinet report from the Diversity and Outreach Coordinator. Could we get a mic to DOC Bogus, please?
Yeah, okay. So in the past week, I've had a lot of meetings with the whole cabinet, individual cab members, individual students groups. Our meeting with Angela Voos and President Kington. I met with Mari and Jordan in Intercultural Affairs. Met about the Sexual Respect Week planning with Khalil, among others. What else? Website updates, still doing that. Printing posters for events and groups. First Year Council, Outreach Committee, office hours, emails. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions for DOC Bogus? All right, seeing none, we'll be moving on to the next item, which is a cabinet report from the Services Coordinator.
Okay. If you would, nothing to add to this stuff. If you would like to reach me, please email me or email SGA1. Please do not email some other people in SGA because they will likely not know the answers. But if you email SGA1 or even President White or even me, we'll get you what you need for anything related to my position. Office hours, 11 to 1, JRC 222, SJ offices. Sometimes I leave to go get it to go because I need to eat, but I will come back and I will be there for you. Nothing else to add. If you'd like my, no, I'm not going to give you my phone number, never mind. Okay.
Any questions for Services Coordinator Porter? All right, seeing none, we'll be moving on to the next item, which is a cabinet report from the Treasurer.
I have nothing to add.
Are there any questions for Treasurer Steckel? Yes, Senator Feldberg-Bannatyne.
Hello, I'm just interested in how the meeting with the Fossil Fuel and Climate Impact Task Force Advisory Committee with the trustees went.
Yeah. The members of the advisory committee shared their opinions about how things had been going, how the series of events went, the things that they learned, the things that had changed, and each member individually and confidentially, I believe, shared what they believed the correct course of action to take would be. Yes.
Is there a way the committee is leaning?
I think it's actually still I think it's still too early to tell.
Best guess.
Best guess is that the task force will likely take a holistic approach to fighting climate change on Grinnell's campus. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Green Fund Co-Chair Magdalena. Could we pass a mic? Thank you.
Based on that meeting, is there anything that we can do to influence the holistic decision-making process?
I think Summer wants to speak to that. But yes, you can talk to us, you can talk to me and Summer, you can talk to Sales and Lucy, the 4 representatives of the advisory committee. We will continue to represent your opinions.
You can also email fossilfuels@grinnell.edu, and those comments will get sent directly to the task force. Wayne Moyer is also the chair of the advisory committee, so he's a good person to reach out to. Also, on the website, it lists the members. I would just go ahead and send them all an email or something. Tell them what you think and tell them why. Be convincing and all that stuff. I can also connect you with those resources. I'm really interested in carrying student opinions forward, so please share them.
So even though the official events are over, this is not over.
Are there any other questions for Treasurer Steckel? All right, seeing none, we'll be moving on to the next item, which is a cabinet report from Concerts Chair Jarzina.
Mike, wasn't there a mic right down here? Or not, back here?
Hey everyone. Okay, sorry, that fidget spinner is amazing. Let's see, last week we had Showvember. I wasn't here. Apparently it went really well. There was a lot of fun music being played, and there was some complaints that there wasn't enough food, but we're going to fix that for next year. We have a concert tomorrow night. Overcoats are playing. Please RSVP to the Facebook event. Tell people about the show. It's like pretty middle of the road, like folk music. And some people tell me that the music I bring is too obscure. And then they tell me that they don't even listen to the music that I bring. So I'm like, how do you know if it's obscure if you don't even listen to it? It's very frustrating. But I promise this is very palatable music. And the 2 singers met at Wesleyan University, so they get the liberal arts thing, which is cool. I think it's going to be pretty and fun and not a huge time commitment. So invite your friends, invite yourself. It's going to be good. And there's only 2 more concerts this semester. The next one's going to be on December 1st after Thanksgiving break, so, it's going to be a while. That's basically it. Hopefully see you tomorrow night in Gardner at 8 p.m. I think that's it.
Any questions for Concerts Chair Jarzina? All right, seeing none, we'll be moving on to the next item, which is a senator report from Senator Rebelski. Can we pass that mic?
Hey all. So, as some of you should know, my senator project was looking at our past SPC budgets and seeing what we spent our money on. So, last semester, our top 3 sources of funding in order were food, the equestrian club, and permanent resources. So, clearly, the data did support Services Coordinator Porter's decision to reduce the availability of food for budgetary concerns.
Point of information, it wasn't my sole decision, it was a committee decision.
Are there any questions for Senator Rebelski? Yes, Services Coordinator Porter.
Thank you for compiling that report. It was very informative.
Are there any other questions? Yes, Services Coordinator.
Are you going to continue this project to look at other SPC data?
So other options, I could do SPC, going further back. If ACE or Concerts would like me to look at their data, I could also do that. So yeah, just who would the chairs of whatever committee who'd like me to do their data, please talk to me after the meeting. Thank you.
Services Coordinator Porter.
Yes, please do that for SPC. Thank you.
VPAA Gelnerova. Could we pass the mic down? Oh, actually, there's one right there.
Did the previous budgets get completely spent?
Point of information, can you repeat slower and enunciated?
Did the previous budgets get completely spent?
Unfortunately, that data is not recorded, so far as I can tell. What's recorded is the amount requested and the